Good afternoon, you guys. Good afternoon. Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Bear with me. Lips are a little dry. I have not been drinking my water. Well, I have, but I just feel like I've been a little bit more dehydrated than usual. Probably because I have not been drinking as much as I normally have. I've been drinking a lot of tea and stuff. Tea and these little Celsius drinks that I like. Just trying to get some extra energy. And again, you guys know that I have been battling a little, well, it's not been a little, but a viral infection for the last over a month. Started out as a sinus infection and it just kind of has lingered, lasting a little bit longer than what I anticipated. And so forgive me if I start to cough a little bit in this live, you guys. It's just life. I don't know what to do about it other than the doctors just pretty much said that I need to let the viral infection run its course. But I did get it about a week before Thanksgiving, and it's just kind of need to run its course. But I'm not here for that, you guys. But people have been wondering why the 30-day challenge has been delayed, just because again I have been sick and then I had a family emergency, so it has put us behind. The challenge should have been over, you guys, November 30th. But like I said, I have been sick for 2 weeks and then I had a family emergency, so we are behind. But we have one more day for the financial gratitude challenge, and thank you guys for joining me. This is it, you guys. We are coming down to the wire. And for day 29, you guys, we are talking about God's sovereignty in the midst of our financial challenges. And so today, I wanted to come from Romans 8:22. So Romans chapter 8, verse 28. And it says, and we know that in all things, God works for the good of those who love him and who have been called according to his purpose. And so just the beginning of this particular scripture, it says, we know that in all things, God works for the good for those who love him. And so this is important for us to be reminded that God loves us despite the bad choices that we have made in terms of our finances. Now, we know in the Bible, his word, it tells us not to be the borrower, not to, succumb to greed, not to overspend, not to fall into gluttony, not to be jealous, not to be what's the word? I want to say it right. I think it's covet other people's what other people have. Basically, don't be jealous of what they have, don't want what they have, because again, we don't know how these people have gotten these things. We don't know if they lied, robbed, cheated. We don't know how people have gotten the things that they have, especially their material possessions. We just don't know how they've done what they've done. And again, everybody does not lie, cheat, rob, steal, whatever, to get the material means that they have. For the most part, most people are honest working people. They work, they rely on credit, they take out loans, so to speak, they do things honestly, even though again we're not supposed to borrow and take out loans and things like that. But for the most part, most people, for lack of doing those things, they opt to take out loans and borrow money to get to get material possessions and things like that, like cars and houses and stuff like that. So essentially, yes, it's against the biblical principles of God, but again, they're not lying, cheating, or stealing, but however, they're not doing it again, well, we, and I say we because again, I've been a person who again has borrowed to get my house, has borrowed to get cars and stuff like that. So again, I fall in that particular percentage of people who has done those things. And again, the Bible tells us that we're not to do these things, but we have done them nonetheless. And so we know that in the end, we're not supposed to do these things. But when it comes to difficult decisions, doing the things that we deem best for our financial circumstances, we do tend to fall into bad habits. And once we get into making bad choices, or we're making bad habits in our financial circumstances, we then have to, of course, repent, go to God, ask for forgiveness, and in hopes that he's going to make things straight for us, in hopes that he is going to fix our financial situations, in hopes that, for instance, we come to him and we tell him we're late on our car loans and things like that, hoping that when we talk to the creditors, they'll, lessen the late fees, they'll take them away, or they'll cut our late fees in half, or they'll do something to help us in that financial issue. If you have to talk to any creditors, you're hoping that they can help you with your latenesses, or they can help you with the balance, or maybe they'll forego some percentage of whatever you owe so that you can pay something in full. And so again, when I use that analogy and I speak of the goodness of God, sometimes God does work things out in our favor, even in spite of us not following his will, his order, his ways, even with us not following biblical principle and not staying true to his word. And he knows we are people of fault. We were born into sin. We have a sinful nature. We have a lustful nature. We want things bigger than our head and our eyes. And so he knows my children are going to make mistakes. My children are going to want things that their pockets cannot handle. My children are going to want to live this lavish lifestyle. They're going to do things foolishly to have bigger houses, bigger cars, the designer clothes. My children are going to do things against my will. But does that mean that he is not going to help us in the midst of our financial circumstances? No, that does not mean that. What it simply means is he gives us free will to make our choices. He gives us free will to go out here and make these crazy mistakes. He goes out, he lets us make these mistakes on our own. And then he also allows us to sit back and, for lack of better words, get the punishment. He tells us don't do these things, but like children, we're going to go out here and we're going to do them anyway. And then we have to accept the punishment. So the punishment for some of us is, our savings take a hit. We live paycheck to paycheck. We have to default on loans, give cars back, foreclose on houses, have our credit cards shut down. We have to learn the hard way. Some of us have to give up a whole lot in order to gain back our financial freedom. And I say this to say that, again, God allows us a free reign to make choices, but then he also allows us to make a U-turn and to make things right in our lives. But God is a sovereign God. He also says that, yes, you made a mistake, but that does not necessarily mean that I am going to continue to punish you, or I'm not going to help you. He's a forgiving God. He's a merciful God. He shows us grace. He shows us forgiveness. And he says, yes, even though you're going through a hard time, I am going to allow this hard time, because in this hard financial time that you're having, I need for you to learn this lesson. I need for you to know, don't rely on credit. Don't go out here and keep consuming and getting consumer loans. Don't go out here and get the biggest cars and end up with $700, $800, $900 car payments that you can't afford. Don't go out here and just because you were offered a $600,000-$700,000 mortgage loan, you don't have to go buy a house that's $600,000 or $700,000. You don't have to go to that extreme. But however, you do have free reign to make that choice. But however, that's not going to be a wise choice for you to make, because in you making that decision, you may not be able to afford these payments in the next year or so. Your job situation may change. Your finances are going to change. Something may change. But however, I'm going to allow you to make this mistake. But however, I am also going to course correct it for you. But I am going to also let you see why I am telling you not to do these things. And so again, just like a parent is going to tell you, don't. But because we are curious in nature, for the most part, as young people, immature people, even immature in faith, immature in learning about God, we still are going to go and do what we want to do. We still don't want to believe that the consequences are going to hit me. We still don't want to believe that we want to believe we are the exception to the financial rule. I can afford this car. I have the best job in the world. Nothing's going to happen to me until boom, we get hit with the layoff notice, or the division is closing, or the business has been bought out by somebody else who don't need somebody in our position, or they don't need our department. Hours get cut. And so again, we make these decisions because we are greedy, we're gluttonous, we don't take the time to sit down and ponder the what ifs before we sign our name to these loans, these credit cards, XYZ. And so God, again, he is sovereign with us in our financial mistakes. He's given us grace and mercy in our financial journey. And in day 29 of the 30-day financial gratitude challenge, today we just have to say thank you, because even in the midst of our stupid financial mistakes, be it though we might not necessarily think these mistakes are stupid, because in the midst of in that moment, let's just say our car is on its last startup. Like it's like literally barely starting up. Like we got to give it gas. We got to pray. We got to sit. We got to rock it back and forth. Like it's on its last startup. And we're like, okay, I can't afford to dump any more money into this car. It's not worth it. Then you go out here and you get a car loan. And because they say you've been approved for a $50,000 car, yes, you've been approved for a $50,000 car. And again, you chose to go get the $50,000 car knowing you really should not get the $50,000 car. But however, you go get it, you realize it's not what you need, and then things happen. God knew that you needed a car. God knew that your car was on its last leg. God saw that you need that car to get kids back to school, back and forth to work. It's cold outside. You can't rely on friends, co-workers, and neighbors to get you from point A to point B. God knows these things. Even if they've said you have a $50,000 car, God didn't say go get the $50,000 car. He may say, okay, I understand in your financial circumstances, I do not want you to end up with the car loan. But however, if you get the car loan, instead of $50,000, go get the $8,000 car. And again, I grant you that some people will say, well, the interest is less on a brand new car, yada, yada, yada. But in hindsight, you're going to be $50,000 in debt now versus $8,000 in debt. And you don't know what your situation is going to be like. And then when it all blows up, now you have to come to God and ask him to help you get out of this financial burden. Now you have to give the car back. Now you're stuck with a car that they have to sell. You're responsible for the difference. And now you have to go declare and sign up for bankruptcy so that you won't ever have to pay this car back again. Even though you have to do what you have to do, you still are indebted and you still owe a thanks to God because somewhere down the line, he's going to bestow grace and mercy on your financial difficulty. Things may seem challenging. Things might not seem the way that they need to be because you're in the midst of a financial challenge, and you still have to say thank you. Or you decide, I'm not going to go get that car. Your car dies anyway. You're now Ubering, you're taking a bus, you're still relying on friends and family to get you from point A to point B. You're trying to do things the right way. And even though you don't have a car, you're relying on folks, you're relying on public transportation, you're still saying to God, one day you're going to bless me with the car. I'm showing gratitude to you because I'm not going to get the loan. Even though I know I have been approved for a $50,000 car, I'm not going to take that loan. I'm not going to go out here and get a car loan. I am going to choose and actually wait until, let's just say, income tax time. And when I get that $4,000 or $5,000 or $6,000 back, I'm going to go and buy a used car. And I'm just going to not have a car payment. No, it's not going to be a car that's up to date. It's not going to be the latest and greatest car. No, it's not going to be that Lexus or that Volvo or that Range Rover, but it's going to be a car that is going to be big enough for me to put my kids in, get me to work, get them to school, get me to the grocery store, and get me back home. It's going to be just enough to get me to the places that I need to be. No, it may not be able to get me across the country, but it's only meant for me to be able to get back and forth to my work, kids where they need to go, whether it's doctor's appointments, school, daycare, after school activities. It's enough for me. And whether I spent $6,000, $8,000, or $10,000, I don't have a car payment. I don't have to put myself in financial restraints because I went and I got a loan for a $20,000 or $50,000 car that I did not need. And sometimes we have to come to God and just say, thank you, God, for the financial hardship. It is a learning lesson. Sometimes in the financial hardships, it is a learning lesson for me to allow you to do your will. It is a learning lesson for me to allow you to work your magic. It is a learning lesson for me to allow the blessing to mature before it gets to me. It is a learning lesson to allow the blessing to mature to its fullest extent before it gets to me. And again, sometimes that blessing comes again when you least, most times the blessings come when you least expect it. Sometimes that blessing comes when you are at your lowest point. And I use the car example because most people know what it's like to have a car go up on you. You know, be it just goes up, or you end up in a car accident, your car's totaled, and now you got to figure out, what you're going to do. But that's pretty much a simple analogy that most of us have been in a situation where we've had to figure out what we're going to do in terms of getting, a new car. And so in the 30-day gratitude challenge, we know that things work out because we love God, because we love him, because we trust in him, because we rely on him, because we give it to him in terms of prayer, because we let him work out the magic behind the scenes. We let him grow the blessing. We let him work that blessing. Again, we let him do what he needs to do, because he knows in certain situations, he's not going to give us more than we can handle. He does not want us to be in debt. He does not want us to incur further debt than what we already have. So sometimes it behooves us to wait in our financial journey yes, sometimes it does take a toll on us to wait in terms of getting a new car. Yes, relying on people that you really don't want to rely on, feeling like you're a burden to the next person, or waiting on public transportation, catching the Uber that is more expensive than if you would just have to fill your tank up for the week. We get those instances, but sometimes in that burden is the blessing at the end. Sometimes in that burden is in that burden, it births a blessing. Sometimes just because you have to spend a month without a car, towards the end of that month, something miraculous can happen. Sometimes it could be you end up getting a refund, or something happens where they're like, yeah, insurance sends you a check for your car that was totaled, or something miraculous happens where you don't have to put yourself in debt. Or you find out somebody has a car laying around that they're no longer using, or God forbid somebody passes away and they know you need a car, and somebody calls somebody and they call you and they're like, hey, so-and-so, someone just passed away, they have a car, they don't want anything for it. They, it's maybe it's a 7-year-old car, it's up to date, they've maintained it, it's clean, the person who had it only drove it maybe once or twice a week. They're not asking, they just need to get rid of it. I thought of you. Hey, I thought of you. You call the people are like, hey, yeah, we can drive it to you. We just need for you to bring us back home. That's a blessing in itself. They're coming to you with the car. You just need to drop them back home. They don't want they're not asking for anything. And here you are sitting thinking you have to go out and have a car payment, get a loan. And at the end of that 30 days, you were like, well, let me just go ahead and sign and get this car and then in the midst of the 30 days, somebody has passed away and these people are going through whatever. And they realize, well, we don't need 5 cars. We've already got 3 cars or 4 cars. We don't need a 5th. And they start putting out some feelers, and somebody knows somebody that knows you, and realize, hey, and even in the midst of your circumstances, you get a check. Insurance company gives you money for your car that went up, or you got into an accident and they send you money. Now you got a car that you didn't have to pay for. Now you have money. And then you take a portion of that money and you say, here, I know it's not much, but let me give you $1,000 as a token of love and appreciation. I know you didn't ask me for anything, but let me tell you why I'm giving this to you and why I really need for you to accept this token of love. Think of it as a token of love. Think of it as a huge gratitude and thank you from God to me to you. And you let them know. 30 days ago, I was in a wreck. I did not have the money to buy a car. I did not want a car payment. I had a car payment for 6 years, X, Y, and Z. You give them the whole gamut. And then you said, tomorrow I was actually going to go to the dealer and get a car loan. I really can't afford a car payment, but I was going to squeeze it in some kind of way, even if I had to pick up an extra job. But then I was going to have to try to find a way for somebody to watch my kids while I work an extra job. But because you gave me a car for free, you did not ask me for nothing. Let me help you guys by being a blessing. I don't care what you do with this money. And you don't know, maybe this family needed money to help with the funeral services. Let's just say, for instance, these people needed money to help with the funeral services. And you have just given them the last $600 or $700 that they needed for the funeral services. And they're, now they're coming to you saying, wait a minute, because of your blessing, you've now blessed us. Because of your blessing, you don't understand. We were just trying to figure out how we were going to come up with the last $600 or $700 to, you just don't know what you've done. Here we are thinking we're a blessing to you, and you just became a blessing to us. Do you see the connection of God's goodness when it says all things work out for the goodness of those who love God? Because these people were praying for something, because you were praying in something, because you two never knew each other, families never crossed paths, y'all just happen to know some people in common. These blessings came out of nowhere. And let's be real, these blessings didn't cost y'all nothing. You didn't have to get a car loan and put money out. These people didn't have to go begging, scraping, scrounging. Nobody didn't have to go take out a loan on their end. And blessings overflow. And now you guys are forever connected. I mean, y'all may not necessarily be the best of friends, but y'all communicate, every so many months. Hey, how are you guys doing? I understand so and so, passed away, and I'm just still thankful for the car. And they're saying, yeah, we were able to get everything arranged. The funeral service was nice, and we're still dedicated to, you don't know what the blessings are going to come out of being a blessing to somebody else, especially in your most turbulent time. And so when it comes again to our finances, we got to give grace, and we got to give gratitude to God, because we don't know what he's doing behind the scenes in the midst of our financial challenges. And so he does work things out for the greater good. And sometimes in our financial challenges, sometimes things don't always work out the way that we want them to work out, but they definitely work out. And again, because we put ourselves in financial burdens, we can't wipe out financial debt sometimes. Most times, we can't just get rid of debts. Now, miraculously, sometimes, especially going on nowadays where people are receiving letters that their student loans are being paid back, they're mysteriously being wiped off the face of the earth. Everyone wants a letter like that. All of us that have student loans want letters like that. We don't know who's paying them. We don't know how they're qualifying. We don't know how or who is being chosen to have these debts being wiped out. But most of us would love to be on a receiving end of those letters, freeing up a huge financial blessing for many people, including myself. If I'm so fortunate to end up with a letter that says, hey, your student loans have all been forgiven, the money that I now have to put out to pay these student loans can be devoted towards something else, can be devoted towards building, more of the things that I love in terms of financial blessings for God, helping other people get out of debt, with biblical principles, and teaching them about God and God. Like, it's so many things that can come out of financial burdens turning into financial blessings. And so as I round out today, I want to just let you guys know that, again, everything works out for the good as long as you love God and you're called according to his purpose. The purpose for us in life in terms of our finances is not for us to live like paupers. It's not for us to live like, I don't want to say paupers or peasants, because again, depending upon your life, some people who don't have as much are very happy, are very secure. They know that they were not put on this earth to be rich. They are living they're living the life that God intended for them to live. They're happy. So I don't want to use that term, but depending upon your life and your purpose, God has called you to not be in financial ruins. He has called us to not be in financial debt. He has called us to be people who are living in financial peace. And this is what I believe, he put us on this earth to choose to do good with our money, to be a financial blessing to other people, and to help build his kingdom. And so I have a few questions for you today as we round out day 29. And it says, how does knowing God is in control help you live with a heart of thankfulness? And so knowing that God is in control of your finances, he is going to help you get out of the financial turmoil you are in. How does that allow you to have a heart that is thankful? I know for me personally, I've said this a few times, going through a separation and divorce, being the person who has left holding the debts, the bag, as I like to say, the financial burden, I have been thankful that week by week, I have been able to either pay off a debt or pay on a debt. For the most part, I have been able to successfully pay off over $2,000 in debt. And I look to, going into 2025 to finish rounding out and paying off even more debt, whether it be, paying on debts till I get to a point where I could just pay it off completely. Thanking him that just being able to pick up more hours at work, getting a raise, taking on a second job. No, I don't have to, but I feel like I got to prove to him and show him that I'm doing my part. I am, careful where I'm spending. I'm not overbuying. One of the things that I do struggle with is because I'm working, 2 jobs and working on my businesses. Me and my boys, we tend to eat out a lot. And that's just because, honestly, by the time I leave early in the morning for work and I come back really, really late, that I don't feel like always staying in the kitchen cooking. And so we tend to eat out a lot. And I know that's where the bulk of my money goes, is to us eating out. And on the weekends, I'm going to be honest with you guys. The weekends I kind of take to really relax, regroup, clean my house. And that's every other weekend, because every other weekend I work my part-time job, and that's at night. So every other weekend I'm working on off, and on my off days, I'm tired. I'm trying to regroup. I'm trying to clean my house. I'm mentally decompressing. I'm just relaxing. And so I don't feel like cooking, and cooking for me is I feel like it's a chore. It's something that I do not enjoy doing. And I have to be honest with myself. It is something that I have to get used to doing. I have not always been a person that paid to cook. I have been blessed in that department, that throughout my career of being a nurse and working, my mom and my husband were the two who cooked. My mom, she was just a person, she was a mother, she cooked. And she would always make enough for everybody to eat, so I can go to her house and grab some food and bring it back here. She lived with me for a few years, so she was always cooking, never had to worry about a meal. And then my ex-husband was a chef. So again, if she wasn't cooking, he was cooking. That's the thing that he loved to do. So I was always blessed in that department. Now that my mom has passed away and we're no longer together, it is definitely a struggle. But I just never... I'm just a person. I'm not a kitchen person. I'm not a person like I'm going to come in the kitchen and make a quick meal. I'm going to make, hamburgers or spaghetti, or I'm going to throw like lasagna in the oven. Like, I feel like quick. And because by the time I get off of work at 6:00 in the evening, by the time I get home at 6:30, 6:45 with traffic, I'm spent. I've worked all day. I leave the house at 6 in the morning. I don't come back until 6:30, 6:45 at night. So I'm spent. But I'm trying to get better with that. So I'm trying to figure out if it's worth me, keeping up with doing crock pot meals, or doing like a meal service. That way we have a variety of stuff to eat during the week. I'm going to toy with that in 2025. And so, but the thankfulness of God that, just when in terms of debt, just being able to work and pay, working extra jobs, extra hours and pay off debt. That's what I was really trying to say. What situation do you need to entrust to his sovereignty today? I think I alluded to this the other day when I was talking about finances. And one of the things that I had to really entrust God is that it is okay for me if some weeks I do not have extra to pay on or off a bill. Because I am a single parent, I am taking care of 2 boys. Some weeks for me are weeks that I kind of have to pay things in my home, like mortgage might be, for the week, or the following week it may be the water bill, the light bill, grocery bill. It might be like car payment, typically I try to lay it out to where as though one week I'm paying home stuff, and then the following week I'm catching up on the bills, like my debts. And so sometimes it always don't flow like that, but most times it does. And so if it's a week where I can't pay on a debt or pay off a debt. It's learning to not be upset about it and knowing that I'm only one person. I'm doing the best that I can, and just even being thankful to God that whatever I'm paying, I'm able to pay it because He's given me the financial means to pay it. So if it only means that this week I'm just paying my mortgage and I'm choosing to keep the extra money just, in my accounts because I need to, stretch it for the week or whatever the case may be. Or I'm making sure that this week is mortgage and then grocery store and then putting gas in the car to get me back and forth to work, things like that. It's okay if I don't pay a bill that week, but essentially I am paying a bill. I'm paying a bill so that I won't be homeless. I'm paying a bill so my kids can eat. I'm paying a bill so that I can have gas in my car to get back and forth to work. So even if I'm not essentially paying on a debt that's helping me get out of debt, it's perfectly fine because I'm still doing a responsible thing. But just learning that it's okay not to pay on a debt if I don't have it to pay on a debt. Just entrusting Him to say, hey, it's okay. You did what you needed to do this week as the responsible person that I am training you to be. It's okay because next week, hey, you might not have had it this week to pay on the debt, but next week, watch what's going to happen. You're going to be able to pay this bill, and this bill. You may be able to pay on 3 bills because I'm working it out for you. So that's where I'm entrusting Him. And so your action step for today is choose a difficult financial situation you are facing and thank God for how He will work it out for good, even if you can't see it yet. And that is very important for us to go by, is that the thing to remember is even if you can't see it yet. That is also, again, the thing that we have to entrust God with, is that even though we don't see how we're going to get ourselves out of whatever financial situation we're in, He's going to see it through. He's going to allow it to work out. It's going to work out in our benefit in the end. Even if we can't see it, don't see it, we don't have that inkling like He's working it out. We have to entrust that He's doing what He is doing for us on the back end. And we just gotta pray that God is working it out. He's working it out for our good. And again, He surprises us with everything that He does. Sometimes we tend to think here, and we don't realize that just because we think here, God's thinking is not here with us. God's thinking is far beyond our thinking. God's reach for certain things is far beyond our reach. The way that God works is incomprehensible, uncomprehensible, whichever way you say it, to us. We think this way, but God's thinking is not. God's actions is not our actions. We have a limit. He's limitless. And so with that being said, I am rounding out today. You guys, we're done tomorrow for day 30 of the Financial Gratitude Challenge. And stay tuned because there's more coming. But thank you for joining me here today for day 29. And tomorrow, we're done for day 30 of the Gratitude Challenge. And don't forget our centering scripture for today, Romans 8:28, basically ensure God works things out for the good of those who love Him and according to His purpose. That is it. See you guys tomorrow. Bye.